Hello, a very warm welcome to you all. It is an absolute pleasure to be with you today. If we haven't met before, my name is Mon. I am a leadership coach and communication specialist, primarily working with women in sport and with sporting organizations to create more inclusive environments where everyone feels like they belong. And the reason why I'm coming to you today with this webinar on self-trust is because I am noticing a real trend in sport, particularly with my female clients at the moment. They're reporting to me that whilst they feel they are confident in some areas and they know that they're capable in their roles, they still have this niggle of self-doubt. And this self-doubt is stopping them from putting their hand up for opportunities. It's stopping them from communicating what their thoughts are in meetings or even challenging ideas when they know that there's a better way of doing it. And so the purpose behind this webinar is truly to let you know that you are not alone in experiencing this self-doubt and that it's something that we all experience. But I want to give you some of the science behind it. I want you to understand why your brain is raising red flags at key moments. And what is really the message that we need to take from this is how we can develop strategies to listen to our body, but take inspired action anyway. So if you're ready, saddle up, get a notebook and a pen, take some notes, and I look forward to hearing what you think at the end of this. So my first question for you is, have you actually ever second guessed yourself? Has it been in a meeting, giving feedback to another employee? Maybe it's about having one of those difficult conversations. I know in sport, we're often tasked with, hey, you need to go tell that coach that parents aren't happy with the way he's speaking to the players. And quite often we're not given the tools to be able to have these difficult conversations. Sometimes there is an imbalance of power, and this can create a greater feeling of risk for these conversations. Or maybe it's just stepping into more visibility. Somebody's giving you more responsibility, you're driving a project, and through this added responsibility, you're feeling additional self-doubt. So I want you to just think about that for a moment in your own life. And understand that if you have felt self-doubt in any of these moments, you are safely at home with many high performers and people that are doing incredible things in the world. The higher up we get, the more responsibility we receive. Often that will come with a louder voice of self-doubt and what's known as imposter syndrome. What I want us to learn, though, is that this is contextual and situational, meaning just because you feel self-doubt in some scenarios doesn't mean that you're failing or that you're not confident as an operator in the work that you do. So what is doubt really? Neuroscience tells us that self-doubt isn't a moral failing. It is your nervous system doing its job, and the nervous system's job is to keep you safe. So if self-doubt is kicking in, understand that your brain and your body is kicking into survival mode. I love this quote from Ben Crow. He says, confidence isn't a personality trait, it's a perspective. A perspective. So let's think about this. If at some moments we're feeling like I'm doubting myself, speaking up in this meeting, going and having this difficult conversation, it is simply a perspective in that moment. And what this gives us is an opportunity to shift that perspective into a more empowering one. And so this shift could look like, I'm not enough until I prove it, to I'm enough and I'm learning how to show up in my power. So Ben Crow's work has been really pivotal for me because he talks about the fact that we are worthy because we are. And as a ambitious woman who's worked in several male-dominated industries, from the automotive industry to the media industry and then into sport, I always felt like I was continually on this wheel of proving myself. But really, Ben Crow's work showed me is that by being in this space, by having my feet on the ground, by having the intention to do my life's best work, I am enough. And so I just want you to take a moment right now and just take a deep breath and let yourself know you are enough. And that whilst we may be navigating self-doubt, we may be navigating feeling like we're just not achieving what we want to achieve, know that regardless of your situation, regardless of your context, you are enough just exactly as you are. The pattern that I'm seeing at the moment is that we've got a strong track record, we're super capable, but that doesn't always translate into confidence. And I want you to know that capability and confidence are not interlinked. Yes, if you're feeling extremely capable, you will feel more confident, but confidence is contextual, and it's about the rooms that you're in. And we may hesitate in certain rooms, and that's not because we're not capable. The same woman walks into every room with the same level of capability, but the same woman doesn't feel confident in every single room. And that is a really key point that I want you to walk away with today. It means that we are a product of our environment, and that we don't get to show up the same in every space, particularly if we're in spaces where it feels hostile, where we're navigating complex environments, big personalities, and we could be in the minority. So recognize that if you've got a disconnect between feeling really capable but not feeling really confident, that is to do with your situation. It's not got to do with you. So self-doubt is a protection mechanism of our body. Our brain's job is not to make you feel like a 10 out of 10 every day. I know it's unfortunate. Its job is to keep us alive, to protect us. So when the risks feel high, when an environment feels unsafe psychologically, our brain goes, babe, not safe. We're going to play it safe here by not talking up, by not challenging someone's ideas. So we've all heard of the fight or flight, but what we don't hear enough about is this fight, flight, or fawn. Now, the fawn response is something that only happens to women, and it is something that has been generationally passed down to us. And what it means is we soften our approach in the way that we show up in order to make other people feel calm and not rock the boat. Basically, it's keeping ourselves safe and making everyone else feel like we're not a threat. Now, when our brain is scanning for threats, if it's sensing a person with their arms crossed, looking sideways, not giving eye contact, or any kind of aggressive body language, it will see that as a threat. And our brain does not know the difference between a physical threat, i.e., a lion in the jungle ready to pounce, or a male executive who is creating tension in the room, or a female executive for that matter too. So recognizing at this point that the nervous system is activating self-doubt to keep you safe. Now, this isn't, all right, well, fine, I'll just let it do its job and remain safe for forever. No, but awareness is the key. So why does context matter? Because environments shape behavior. People speak up where they feel safe, and people shrink where they feel judged. So confidence is influenced by culture, not just by personality. And this is a really important part of us in understanding, because we all have a role in how we show up and the environments that we're creating for other people. So this isn't a man versus women, senior versus junior. This is everyone's responsibility to think intentionally about the environments that we're creating, and are we creating it in a way that people feel safe to show up as themselves, their quirky, weird, and wonderful selves. That should be our job as self-appointed leaders within sport and within organizations. So I'm interested to know for you, when does your self-doubt dip? Pop it in the chat, write it down in your notebook. When do you feel like your self-trust is really not at its highest? I'm noticing with the clients and the people that I'm working with, it's in rooms where they feel like they're in the minority or where they already know that there is relationship strains. So you could be sitting on a board or a committee and you know that you don't see eye to eye with one of those committee members. And you've had perhaps conflict with them before. So when you're stepping into this room, you're not feeling like your 10 out of 10 confident self that you show up on the netball court or on the football fields. You're not bringing that person. And so all I want you to do right now is bring awareness to that. Awareness to the fact that there are places and times where we will have a dip. No judgment, just write that down. This is about navigating and developing an awareness of what's happening, because once we know better, we can do better. But if we're just following the same patterns and allowing rooms and situations to dictate how we show up, then we're not evolving and we're not able to change the environment for others. So what I'm hoping is that you start to see the possibility of a shift from, am I enough, to I've got myself. And that comes with time and that comes with practice. Confidence, we look outwards. Do people think I'm fabulous? But self-trust, we look inwards. And we know that internally we have everything that we need to be enough, because we are, right? So self-trust creates this steadiness under pressure. And I want you to think about what that would look like and feel like for you. If you truly were able to bring a level of self-trust and groundedness in every room, what would that feel like? Would you feel calm? Would you feel relaxed? Would you feel more engaged and happy? Linking an emotion to a thought creates a powerful shift in the way we can shift our brain, because our brains are malleable. We've learned through neuroplasticity that if we want to create a new experience in our life, we have to pair a thought with an elevated emotion. And when we combine these two things and we practice that thought again and again and again, our brain then creates a belief system. And once it's locked in as a belief system, i.e., I can trust myself in any environment, you change the way that you show up. So I want to give you a tool that kind of pairs all of this together. So the first step is about anchoring. And it's going inwards to notice what's happening. Too often, we are taught to look at all the signs and symptoms happening outside of us. What is she saying? What's he doing? What's that body language saying? What are the statistics saying? What is the facts and the data? Ignore all of that to begin with and look inwards. What is your body saying? What is the feelings and the sensations that you can start to become aware of? Because that is where our nervous system is giving us cues. And what does PAIN stand for? Pay attention inwards. And the more we can do that, the greater we can respond to our body with compassion and kindness. The second step is about labeling. All right, it's naming what's happening without any judgment. It's naming it as a bystander or almost like a science experiment. Oh, that's interesting. I'm sensing this. And then the third step is a reframe, choosing a small aligned action to help us moving forward towards our goal of developing greater self-trust and showing up in the way that we want to show up. So I want to give you this tool in action so you can really get a sense of what it would look like in real time. So the scenario, you've had an idea, but the conversation is moving really fast and you start to sense a tight chest and you hesitate to speak. So in the first step, we anchor. We notice the signal. So what have we heard? We've got a tight chest, breath is getting shallow. And the thought that comes up is, don't mess this up. Okay? So we're just recognizing all of these things without judging. Next step is I want you to label and I want you to name what's happening. So, for example, in this, you could say, this is a nervous system response. It's not a fact. So, we're not arguing with the feeling. We're just creating space between what that feeling is and the story. Because too often we let the narrative that comes up be our truth. Nobody wants to hear what you have to say, Monica. You don't have enough experience here to talk on this, Monica. Everybody's already said everything, Monica. Just be quiet. And what I want to do is notice the story without judging it so that I can then move to the next step, which is to reframe it. What naming what's happening does is it reduces the threat to the brain. So remember we were talking about when we see a person crossing their arms or looking sideways at us, we see that as a threat to our actual survival. What we want to tell our brain and give our brains cues of is that we are safe. That is what this process is all about. And then we want to reframe. So I want you to choose the smallest, bravest action you can. So potentially when you're involved in a conversation that you want to be a part of, maybe you could ask a clarifying question. Maybe you could just add one sentence to what somebody else had said. Or you could just follow up after the meeting and say, hey, Sandra, I really loved what you said about that. I'd love to be involved in helping you bring that to life. And that's an opportunity for you to take a step toward developing that self-trust. Small actions retrain our brain to feel safe again. Confidence is not about taking over the room, being the strongest, the loudest, and the most authoritative. We've been taught that, and it's wrong. It's BS. Confidence lives inside us, in our ability to trust that the way that we show up is enough. And sometimes you're going to rock up and you're like, I don't actually have anything to contribute. I don't have the answers. And that's okay. Don't feel like you have to be the one with all the answers, because self-trust tells you that if you're sitting in silence, that is okay, because you're trusting that everyone else is looking after that conversation. And self-trust also says if you've got something to say, it is valuable and you deserve to communicate that. So why this system works? The brain learns through repetition and safety grows through action. So if we want to continue to develop our confidence and our self-trust in the way that we show up, it's these small aligned actions towards the person that we're trying to become that makes the difference. So don't feel like you have to go from 0 to hero. If you're at a 1 in self-trust in these environments where you're not feeling safe or it feels high risk, don't aim to go from a 1 to a 10. Aim to go from a 1 to a 2. And if you can go from a 1 to a 2, celebrate that success. That's huge, because most people go through their lives going, I don't feel safe in this room. I will continue to keep quiet. And what that teaches the people that have created that environment is that they are okay to continue to do that. But gentle challenges, finding your voice, standing up for what you believe in, will create not only great self-trust, exceptional confidence, but it'll start to shift the environment in which was creating an unsafe thing for everybody, not just you. And this is when we look at that bigger culture piece and what you can do to be an agent for change. Now, I recognize that it's unfair for you to have to do all the work if you're in environments where you feel unsafe. And my hope is that allies, people that want to create environments for people to feel safe, also get onto this webinar and view this work. So for you, my friends, safety is not created alone. Confidence grows where trust exists. So ally behavior really shapes who speaks and who stays silent. So what can you do in the moment where you notice one of your team members is staying silent? Pause the pace, slow it down a little bit. Be aware of the weather or the cultural environment that's happening in those meetings. Then invite input. So say, hey, Sarah, I know you've been working on this project or you've worked with this stakeholder. What are your thoughts on that? If Sarah says, oh, I actually would prefer not to say, or I'm not sure, I wasn't prepared, that's okay. But inviting her into the conversation shows that her opinion is valuable and valid in this room. And then if Sarah does share, acknowledge that contribution. Sarah, thanks so much for sharing that. That was so interesting, so valuable, whatever it is. Let her know that she's done a great job, because what that does, it gives her a dopamine hit. It encourages her to do it again. It builds that confidence loop. We want to back women visibly. So how can you credit ideas publicly, whether it's on a company-wide email, whether it's in a meeting, whether it's in a hallway saying, hey, Mon, saw that great thing that you did, high five, keep going. Maybe it's about reinforcing those contributions, even if it's just in a one-on-one saying, hey, Sarah, I really love what you're doing with this client, with this project, how you're bringing more volunteers into this club, whatever it is, but just recognizing contributions as they happen, not big milestone things, keeps people motivated. A really important one for mentorship is talk about women or talk about the people who can't get in the room and tell others what an amazing job that they're doing. It seems like such a small act, but anybody can do this and it really makes a difference. So if you've got someone who's coming through the ranks and you see their brilliance, you see that they're doing amazing work, talk about them, promote their contribution to other people. The impact that this has is proven statistically and in research that it opens more doors for women than just having a mentor that goes, here's some things that you can do to be more confident. No, screw that. Go and talk about me in a room that I can't get into yet, right? That is what's going to open the door for me in my career. And calling people in, not calling people out. So getting more blokes involved in getting excited about diversity, equity, and inclusion, not in a you guys suck and you need to be doing it better way. No, how can more people get excited about this and get more people involved in the conversation? That is what we need. So it's everyone's responsibility to create environments where people feel safe and that self-doubt becomes eradicated, or imposter syndrome really starts to become a more dimmer light, and more empowered, confident leaders becomes the norm. So we can't just listen and not take action. So I want to know, what's one small action you can take in the next 7 days? So as a woman, what are you going to do to build more self-trust? Is it taking that little leap of faith and putting your hand up for a project, or contributing to a company event, or speaking at the next meeting? And then as an ally, what can you do to build safety? And again, women can be allies for other women. So please understand that we all have a role to build safer, more inclusive environments. So what can you do as an ally to build more safety into the team that you're working in? How can you talk up someone who you're working with? How can you provide or open a door for someone through an introduction or a recommendation, or even just celebrating the heck out of them on a LinkedIn post? It all matters, and it all contributes to supporting people on their journey of building self-trust. And if you would like to continue to build your self-trust and you're looking for ways to actively build that, you're in the right place. And I know you are, because you're here. So option one for you is to go and take my free leadership scorecard. It looks at the way that you're connecting to yourself and connecting to others. It looks at your influence, your communication, and your mindset as a leader. And it gives you a really comprehensive output at the end of that to go, hey, you're doing amazing here, but here's where you really need to develop and fine tune your skills to really amplify your impact. And if you're like, that's amazing, but I really want to link arms with some incredible women and take my leadership and my impact to the next level, then maybe She Rises in Sport is the best option for you. It's a 6-week leadership accelerator for women navigating the complex environments of sport and male dominated areas. And we go through really practical leadership tools that you need to be able to have those difficult conversations, give feedback, be able to negotiate and advocate for yourself and for others, and a bunch more. So if you'd like more information on that, please reach out to me on my website or via email. I would love to hear from you. And it's been an absolute pleasure. So let me know in the comments, was this valuable? What is the one thing you're going to do to build your self-trust today and in the days ahead? Thanks so much. See you soon.